Hey there, what is up, plant community? Green Thumb here. So, today I got asked an interesting question, which I'm definitely going to address. You could consider this a care video, but Braden Palms asked me, well, how do you keep your Majesty palm alive? How do you keep it thriving, basically? Well, it's it's really easy, honestly. It's not that hard. Um so I let my palm see the cold about to 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Anything colder than that, I bring in. It took 34 one time, but I don't normally allow this palm to see 34 degrees. The big important thing, really, with most palms, even though the older fronds are looking raggedy, that's going to happen. Your old fronds, my brother's dog up there barking, your older fronds are going to look raggedy, old, and discolored, and those are just going to eventually fade away. And they'll probably fade away this winter, to be honest. So what I do to keep my palms alive, sorry guys about the dog, just have to deal with it. The Majesty palm anyways alive is I take it and I keep it by a bright window, usually this window right here during the winter time. And whenever it needs water, like when the soil is dry, I just give it a whole gallon of filtered water. Um, So that definitely helps. Another thing that helps too, that really helps your palms, strengthens them up, and helps them deal with cold is giving them proper palm fertilizer. Like that really helps the Majesty palm, giving it the proper fertilizers that it needs. It helps it thrives. It gives all the natural nutrients and everything that it needs. Um, you can look online, decide what palm fertilizer you're going to use in order to keep your palm flourishing. Some people use liquid palm feed. I use slow release palm feed. So it's personally up to the person who is growing the palm themselves. So that's what I do. And then another thing is to make sure that the roots ain't too root bound in the pot. Try to repot it if you can. I want to say every 3 years. This is probably about the max that I can keep a palm tree in, is a pot like this, to be honest. It gets any bigger, I'll probably have to give it away or sell it or do something with it, because I ain't going to be able to keep a palm tree that's going to get too big. But yeah, palm fertilizers help. So a lot of people do have issues with these. And a thing that you don't want during the winter time, unless there's a lot of wind, luckily here in Indiana, there's a lot of wind, so I don't have to worry much about this really, is getting the water in the crown. Make sure that the water doesn't get down in there and fill up or anything like that, because it can cause fungus and other issues to go on within that crown, which is not good. Now, if you have outside, it's brutally windy like it always is here in Indiana during the winter time. I don't tend to worry about it much. I just let it blow in the wind, and that usually dries it out. Of course, we get a lot of rain too, so I don't really have to worry about watering it unless I have to bring it in when temperatures get too cold. But yeah, that's mainly the things you want to worry about. And of course, issues I get scale on this guy. You gotta make sure you don't get scale. First signs of scale is usually you'll find an ant crawling on the spear or over here, something. So I'll take that ant, knock it off, look all over this palm tree. Then I'll spray it with some neem oil or whatever pesticides you have that could particularly help this specimen out and help this guy out. Again, they're going to need lots of water, lots of water. I usually give this guy a gallon. I need to give him a gallon of water actually right now, to be honest, after I get done with this video. And a gallon almost every day seems to really help this guy out. Because again, where they're planted, people plant them, and where they're naturally grown at, which is Madagascar, they grow in like right in the middle of the rivers, lakes, streams, next up by ponds, in ponds, on the shores of ponds. Um, Again, in rivers, streams, will grow up on the shores of those, in the streams sometimes. People in Florida, they'll actually plant these guys in the pond. So yeah, they love water. I would argue that they're kind of like the palm version of a weeping willow. A weeping willow has to be up against a riverbank or something in order to survive and thrive. That's pretty much what this Majesty is like. It's like a weeping willow, a palm version of a weeping willow. That's the best way I can compare it, is it just needs lots of water, again, proper palm fertilizer, and being able to manage the pests. Spider mites, thrips, mealybugs, scale, all things you gotta watch out for. I even had issues with a grasshopper one time eating my fronds, but I took care of that. He messed around and found out real quick. And then another thing you could do too is do what I do. I plant flowers and other things around it every year. That holds in moisture. That really helps them out. And if you notice, that the water is leaking through your palm too fast on the bottom, because sometimes your palms won't actually poke their roots through the drainage hole, that probably means it's time to definitely repot again. I'd only keep them in a pot 3 years, 4 years being the max, because you'll notice that if you don't repot like I did, you'll get an old frond like this, and that's a stunted frond. You don't want a stunted frond. You want a frond like this, where it's nice, long, or like this one's starting to get nice, long, and wavy. And that's how you know they're healthy, they're good, and that they're going to continue to thrive. And again, um, if you're not having it in a pot and you have it in the ground, you will have to protect it. If you're in a zone 6, or I would argue zone 6, or just anywhere that's not zone 9. My friend has one in zone 9 in Florida, and it's doing all right. Took frost, but you naturally don't want them to take frost if you guys get back and back like we do. Again, when you store it in for the winter and you bring it back out, you're gonna want to keep it in shade for about a week, 7 days. And then after a week and 7 days, sometimes I've seen where people have to keep them in shade for about 2 weeks. You wanna then move this guy out into direct sunlight slowly. And then after that, you should be good to go. Your palm will grow. It might take a minute to grow. In my experience, they're kind of medium growth. They're kind of slowish and they're kind of not. So I'd call it medium growth. But like right now, for about half the summer, it hasn't been doing nothing. It maybe put up this frond here, which was kind of stunted, and then this frond here. And then later on within the year, it's putting up this frond and this new spear. So it's really growing now, and that usually happens around this time when we're about ready to go into October. But they'll have to take it in case we get frost or anything like that. But yeah, and then during the winter time, it's mainly cloudy. So if it's like 35 degrees, I'll just go ahead and throw it out in its spot where it's normally at during the summertime, and go on from there. But yeah, that's really it. I mean, and then if you have a area where you can't put by a window that receives direct sunlight like this 24/7, 24 hours of the day, because your Majesty palm is going to at least need about 6 hours. Wow, zombie apocalypse, man. All the ambulance, fire trucks, everything. Zombie apocalypse. Anyways, yeah, so you're going to want to keep it by a bright window. If you can't supplement with a bright window, and I've had to do this a few times with this guy, grow lights. You can use full spectrum or grow lights with both the red and blue spectrum, and that will help it get through the winter until you can take it back outside again. Again, what I do with mine is I keep it by the window and take it out whenever it's like gonna stay in the 35-degree mark, and then move it outside. And I don't normally trim all the dead fronds until later in the wow, there's a lot going on today. But yeah, I don't normally trim the dead fronds until spring. Whenever I'm putting it back out in the front garden, then I'll give it a trim, kind of like what they do in Florida. But yeah, easy to care for, easy to do. They say you need humidity for it. In my experience, it helps them to have humidity, but they don't constantly need it. Humidity up to 60% would be good enough. You could go around and mist it if you want. That'll help it out. I've had issues in before where if I didn't give it enough humidity, it would get stuck kind of like this and went unfurl, and I'd have to help it out. But normally they do good in household humidity. It's kind of a myth that they need a lot of humidity just to thrive. I'm sure they'll love it. I'm sure they would greatly appreciate the humidity because, again, they're growing up near rivers, lakes, streams, ponds. You know, they're growing in that environment where they're constantly receiving the humidity like that. But here we try to do the best we can. So, yeah, if you're in a zone 6A like I am, you gotta either do one or two things. You gotta protect them if they're in the ground, or you have them in a pot and you bring them in every year. So, yeah, simple, easy, in depth care guide of a Majesty palm and how to keep your Majesty palm surviving throughout the year. And if you get little dry tips, like mine really ain't got them now because it's humid enough, but you'll get dry tips on them, kind of something like that. And as is because there's not enough humidity in the air, I won't worry about that, you know? But yeah, Majesty palm. Easy palm tree to care for, in my opinion. Easier than coconuts. Easier than pygmy dates, because I have issues with pygmy dates. But yeah, one of the easier ones to grow, which is why they're in big box stores. So yeah. Anyways, as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, keep it real and definitely keep it tropical.